Our first one, Ian Duhig. Again, I was trying to think about how you would introduce Ian, and I'd been reading his book in the kitchen, and I was boiling an egg while I was thinking about it, and I thought, actually, it's obvious that if you don't boil the egg long enough, it's runny and soft, and if you boil it for too long, it's hard. And Ian's skill as a poet is always to leave the poem at the exact moment that it's boiled to perfection, and it's not too runny, and it's not too hard. And I think that's because Ian has had years and years and years of a long apprenticeship in writing. And so he can, if I had a song about Ian Duhig, it would go, Ian Duhig, he does what he wants. Because he can. He can write whatever he likes. Because I think that's partly because he spent several years in what some fools call the real world. We know this is the real world, but Ian's been in that other alternative real world, which means that as a poet, he can do what he wants. And I'm really excited about that. Ian Duhig.
Thank you very much. The check is in the post. Some eggs will be waiting for you in the dressing room. It is a great honour, obviously, to be reading with, at the T.S. Eliot event like this at the Prize, but to be reading with the wonderful poets that I am is, I feel almost embarrassed to be here. In the things that you've been given, you have a sonnet of mine. The book actually opens with 2 prose pieces. They are of 14 lines each, and they allude to the idea of the sonnet in that way. The Blind Roadmaker, I suppose, overall in the book is love, the cliches. I looked up how many songs had the word love will find a way in it, and it was dozens and dozens and dozens. And the opening story is also refugees, people who move around, like my family. You move to another country, you know little about it, you make up stories. As Wallace Stevens said, we don't live in places, we live in descriptions of places. The refugee in this poem is Kafka's lover, Dora Diamond, who fled both Stalin and Hitler, died in London, died in this city, made an important contribution to Yiddish culture. This is really a story I heard from different places, and it became a kind of parable about narrative, really. Half the story. Franz Kafka, the story goes, encountered a little girl in the park where he walked regularly. She was crying. She'd lost her doll. Kafka helped the girl search for the doll, but they couldn't find it. They arranged to meet there again the next day to look for the doll, but still they could not find it. When they met for the 3rd time, Kafka gave her a tiny letter that he told her he'd found nearby. She read, "Don't be sad, I'm only travelling, I'll write, I promise." And every day that summer, when Kafka and the little girl met, he'd read a new letter to her describing places the doll had visited, what it did there and who it met. The little girl was comforted. When the holiday was over and she had to go back to school, he gave her a doll that he said was the lost prodigal returned. And if it seemed a little different from the doll of her memory, a note pinned to its scarf explained, "My travels changed me." Or so ends this version of the story, popular with therapists. But in Dora Diamond's own account, our one first-hand source, there was no new doll, nor a message of change and growth. Instead, Dora had described a final letter sent to the girl detailing how the doll had met its soulmate and had married him, how it would be too busy with its new family to write again. enjoining the little girl to seek similar fulfillments in her own life. Dora also noted how this affair had driven Kafka to distraction, who'd endured white nights, tortured by his own compassion, feverishly thinking up new adventures for his changeling doll made out of letters and lies and love. How this correspondence had been maintained in this fashion for a period of 3 weeks, as long as that holiday when Dora Diamond had first met France, a place where the name I only half recall now, Graal something. Graal Muritz, of course. I live in Leeds, and this next poem was inspired by a book by a bloke called Bernard Hare. It was called Urban Grimshaw and the Shed Crew. And from that I took a few things. One was the name of Ashtray Land, which was what they call England. It's a place, stubbed out country. And I have a verse in here from one of the gang of kids. This is a group of kids who've dropped out of school. They make their money shoplifting, hoisting is the expression is, hence the clothes that I described at the beginning. There is a kind of verse from Jerusalem by one of them that I build us around. This is called the Blue Queen of Ashtray Land, but the epigraph is from Molly. And I think about the question that Percival should have asked. Everyone got so upset about the question Percival should have asked. But Molly, I think, really has the best of the questions that Percival should have asked. And he should have said, what the fuck's the Holy Grail? Her hair glows burnished as the gold that trims a Nike cardigan. Ionian white, her fila trainers, DKNY jeans and cap. Her skin's as blue as old skim milk, as blue the star on her left cheek, a borstal beauty spot tattooed with broken glass and laundry ink. The down is down, the brown all tooted, the homegrown hydroponic skunk all shotgun, blown back, jointed bong, the queen calls for her royal swan. Through snakebite piercings on her lips, the bitten red adapter hissed like Cleopatra's asp its gas. Our queen jerks upright, claps her hands. With no round table, they hand round white lightning in 2-litre flasks. She necks a draught and kicks her minstrel. Skeeter fills the block with song. Bring me my dig of burning gold. Bring me Viagra of desire. Bring me my foil, oh clouds unfold. Bring me my milligrams of fire. Her nights take off to rob a dealer. Urban's passed out in his crate. Peeling back a cardboard curtain, the queen looks down on her estate. I went to the co-op a while ago and talked to the woman, like weird weather. I was talking to the woman who works there, and she just said out of the road, Mother Shipton said we would know no seasons. And I just thought it's amazing that she still survives in language in this way. Based in Knaresborough, which is where Blind Jack comes from, and I was just fascinated really of all of the stories, just the way that she told them, and this is really what's behind this. Mother Shipton, I know you'll pass the World's End Bar to cross that river by the well, whose water changes time to stone, to find our Yorkshire Sibyl's home. You'll know her face's sickle moon from moth's wings, punch old bills for plays, and metered words of metered fate from Pepys, Defoe, the internet. In her unending, ending worlds, hares make our hearts their birthing beds. A thorn hangs horses, swords plough fields, while one-eyed women wade through blood. What all this means, the wise don't ask, but watch from shadows in her cave. Dead metaphors escape their grave to breathe again behind their mask. And I'll finish with a poem about Blind Jack in his shadow. Just astonished. My son he volunteered at a centre for blind people. Nobody knew about Blind Jack, major road builder in the north of England, amongst many other things he did. Astonishing. In his shadow. Colourful Blind Jack would see right through me. Colourless beside all his many coats and trades, technicolour escapades my dull ink must betray. A froggy lover like those he saw off at Culloden, he'd scorn me stumbling comme sur les pavés, how I use that line from Baudelaire as a crutch. My fiddle with words while his own played tunes Jack only had to hear once to know backwards. He played to lead the Yorkshire Blues into battle. Women fell for him too, even later on in his life when Jack always stunk of pitch like old Nick. He could sweet talk all right to get somewhere. Testing stones to bed his road's black tongues, I heard how Jack rolled them around in his mouth like new words. But I wouldn't know about that. Thank you.